the video playing.
Mbalewane, Chagwa, Edgar Lungu wane. Mbalewane, Chagwa, pala ukenda mwe Chagwa, pala chalo chako chake Lungu we, komeza chiuta. Chagwa, Edgar, pala chalo chako chake Chagwa, pala mbalewane wase Lungu we, komeza chiuta. We Chagwa reka kuwa we, na wende muchishe Chagwa, Ivangelo ndi umowe, omeza chiuta. We Lungu reka kuwa we, na wende muchishe Chagwa, Ivangelo ndi umowe, komeza chiuta. Twaya ibalongo bami tumuvotere uno Edgar Lungu. Twaya enu wakwechi tumuvotere uno Edgar Lungu balongo. Komeza chiuta. Emwane tata emwane bachakwa balo chalo chako choe chakwa bala bana bako baketunze komeza chiuta Edgar Lungu we bala bale wane wase chakwa bala chalo choe tunze komeza chiuta we chakwa reka kuwa we na wende muchie chakwa Ivangelo ndi Lungu we komeza chiuta we kubamba kwa miaka tu icheche yo aikaraba kwa ufu witubura kwamba mbauza kuwanisha mikwako kabitineki akine mikwako watendika kuwanisha awu mnoso wesi chingora roti vakwao vakafurumende vatsinga pokara vaikere miaka yavura kumwingitirapo ne minoye wamba kwamba mbauza kuingitirapo pamwe vatu acheche nakusarongo vamini tukeva kuingira kwa mutundu kako tukeva mona ibyo aingira muimu ye muntu umuchina muchima wako ka muchima wawama muchima okeba byambo byarese hajo mwana musanchira bigetika bacheche bantu bafana kufakashano bifakashayitika kuno kuntu twaiti muvotere uno muntu kwakurane kutaya kimyene barongo ba weja sareka kuwa we ngamenda muchishe Lungu we Ivangelo ndi Chagwa komeza kuchipata ni Lungu ofire waishibanishi ukwishibesa mbushobe chintu kisuma wikonkera kufotera mu mutundu pakiro wafotera mu mutundu karuba lero ndiye kuchenyesha kutira ofire waishibanishi kutira kukufota ninsambushobe ofire wafotera umuntu wo wishibe ukutira uyu muntu wenga twale chalo pantachi Edgar Chagwa Lungu umome wa mutembo wachumfuira we musevera munandi taufiri okulwa bakubomfyoka mukubusha olubuli chenjera kansambushobe
to you all, across the country and to wherever you are watching us from. Today is a deeply, deeply very sad day for our country, for members of the Patriotic Front, for the members of former President Edgar Lungu. I don't know where you were, but for me, the time zones and times differences, I was woken up by the buzzing phones. All my phones were ringing, whether others were calling on Facebook Messenger, others were calling on WhatsApp, others were making direct calls. And it was on the frantic issue regarding the former president. I made some calls and we had very sad news. I think the delay in the announcement was first of all, you need to inform the family, and the family, I think, also wanted to inform government before we could make the announcement to the country. We're glad that Honorable Tasila Lungu, daughter to the former president, at least gathered strength, Honorable Tasila Lungu Mwansa, and then gave us a video to confirm the sad passing of Zambia's sixth president at the age of 68. He was going to turn 69 on 11th November 2025. He passed on in South Africa. He's been in South Africa since January when he traveled for a routine medical checkup and medical treatment. Here is the official announcement that was made by Mrs. Tasila Lungu Mwansa, the firstborn daughter to President Edgar Chagwa Lungu.
Fellow Zambians, it is with profound sorrow that we announce the passing of His Excellency, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, sixth President of the Republic of Zambia, who departed this morning at 06 hours at Medifarm Clinic, a center in South Africa. My father, President Lungu, had been under medical supervision in recent weeks. His condition was managed with dignity and privacy, with support from all well-wishers. In this moment of grief, we invoke the spirit of one Zambia, one nation. The timeless creed that guided President Lungu's service to our country. In time, the nation will be involved to be informed of other arrangements. Thank you. God bless you.
That was the brief statement to confirm the demise of Zambia's sixth president, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu. He became Zambia's president on 24th January 2015. He went for another election in 2016, and his last term of office in 2021, when he handed over power peacefully to President Hakainde Hichilema. The world has since been reporting about this matter, and it's on BBC, it's on CNN, it's on Reuters, it's on everywhere. And a lot of people sent me a lot of messages that why isn't ZNBC making this announcement official? Why are they broadcasting other matters, especially the 19 hours news? Again, this is in an atmosphere where we are told that we shouldn't politicize a funeral. This is in an atmosphere where the whole country is mourning, and we're supposed to be united, and the death of a remarkable statesman like President Edgar Lungu is supposed to unite all of us. But it also serves as a moment of reflection of things we do wrong. Who at ZNBC, for example, was afraid to break the news? That was the first item across many stations across the world, except our ZNBC, if it's not for politics. We will need to rise above the petty politics that grips our country. Today's broadcast, I've decided that I will rebroadcast a detailed conversation I had with the former president, and in the conversation podcast, the podcast that I ran, I've never seen him give such detailed insight of his personal life. And there's no better way to celebrate his life than to hear his own words. He reflects on his early life, his university life, up to the time he was working for various institutions, state insurance, Barclays at the time when he was legal, secretary, up to the time he joined politics, and how his relation with Mr. Sata. There's never been a detailed interview other than this interview. So I want to play this interview of President Lungu. We had this conversation, I think, in October, in 2024, and I thought it was appropriate. I wrote a piece before I go there. I wrote a piece that there are uncomfortable truths we have to face, like the one I've just stated of ZMBC misconducting themselves. Edgar Lungu was president of the Republic of Zambia. He was president. You will not erase that fact. And a moment like this, I think you need to recognize that. There was no need to read the news with other items. It's those issues as a country that we need to mature. We need to handle our country far better. We've been independent for the last 60 years. But we don't seem to learn. We seem to have abandoned national building ethos. Like I said, Edgar Lungu was former president. He had been president. He was denied an opportunity to go for his medical treatment several times. On my page, I produced a letter in which he wrote to government on 16th August 2023, asking again to go for his medical treatment. This was in 2023. 7th September 2023, the Deputy Secretary to Cabinet, Dr. Oliver Kalawo, responded that government had refused him, had denied him an opportunity to travel. Even when he had indicated that he was going to meet his own expenses, government refused. You will remember that when he was traveling, this last time he traveled to South Africa, again, there were frantic efforts to stop him. What saved him is that there were a lot of dignitaries around from the United Nations and others that were waiting for the arrival of the United Nations Special Rapporteur. So that embarrassment, I think, made the system retreat. But you know that the following day they suspended the airport manager who was in charge, and they subsequently fired the airport manager. His name is Poka Sonde. I hope that someone can reflect and reinstate that officer who allowed President Edgar Lungu to travel. You say we shouldn't politicize, but there are these heavy burdens that as a nation we have to deal with. We should use the moment of the passing of the former president to unite ourselves. And sometimes we have to confront the ugly issues that have emerged where our politics are poison to the unit of our country, where our politics take preeminence, take precedence, even on a life, for example, of a former president. We were recently mourning Edith Nawakwi. Again, we expressed similar sentiments. So here we have former President Edgar Lungu has died in South Africa at a hospital in Pretoria. And we will remember his works. I think he carried on the legacy of President Michael Sata to do these huge infrastructure developments for our country. He built dams, Kafue Gojloa, Iteji Dam. He built schools. He built colleges. He built universities. He built hospitals. He built dams. There's a legacy you will not erase from the life of President Edgar Lungu and his life as president. And I hope that in the next few days we will celebrate his life. I can't remember what the provisions of the law are, whether he's entitled to 3 days national mourning or 7 days national mourning. I know the president is 7 days. In this case, as former president, I have to remember. But those are cabinet rules. We have to mourn him for that period, and government, I think, will announce for members of the Patriotic Front and other well-wishers. They are already camped at at the party secretariat at the corner of Lumumba and Panganani Road, opposite the filling station. I think that's Engine Filling Station. That would be a place for gathering for members of the party, members of our sympathizers, and even this night, our members have started and they are laying vigil there at the party secretariat to mourn the former president. So let me go to, in his own word, he tells us his life. I was privileged to have this interview with the former president. Special podcast. On 28th October 2024, Zambia will commemorate and celebrate the 10th memorial service marking the passing of Zambia's 5th president of the Republic of Zambia, President Michael Chilufya Sata. President Sata died on 28th October 2014 in London, in the United Kingdom. He was serving as president of the Republic of Zambia. To help me review the life and times of Mr. Sata, I'm privileged to host a very special guest, Zambia's 6th president of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu. Your Excellency, welcome to this interview. And how have you been?
Well, thank you. I've been fine, and standing by watching quietly as the people act. I'm the spectator. Now I see Zambia as the acting place. I'm outside now watching as a spectator. It's becoming very interesting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're living in interesting times. Your Excellency, you clearly had a special relationship with President Michael Sata. You're one of the first members of the Patriotic Front when Mr. Sata formed this party. You later became an area MP for Chawama. You later rose to be his minister, serving in various portfolios. He also made you to act as president, and eventually you became president of both the Patriotic Front and president of the Republic of Zambia. Let's start from the beginning. How and when did you meet President Michael Sata, at the time probably Michael Chilufya Sata?
Yeah, it's very difficult to segment my meeting with President Sata into political, is it social, and probably professional. Because I knew Mr. Sata when I was working for Zambia State Insurance Corporation as a professional. I was a legal officer there under Wilson Mwale, BSK Chiti, and others. And there we knew each other as a legal officer who was assigned to work with him on the Abonde Housing Project. Because as you may be aware, the Abonde Housing Project was a joint venture at one time between Zambia State Insurance and Mr. Sata's consultancy with his friend, Mr. Memigas. They started
George Memigas.
George Memigas, yes. They started that project. So I knew him from that angle. But earlier on, of course, I knew him in other social spheres and so on.
So the assertions by Zambians that Basatebe Neba Avondeo comes from that project.
Yeah. In the 80s, I think 85, 86, Mr. Sata and his friend George Memigas were running projects. It includes the Mesa Flats, in Chilenge, that structure in the town center, which I think has been since sold and so on. And then they have on their housing project. But they fell short of financing on the Abonde Housing Project. And I think they came to see Ziski then, Zambia State Insurance Corporation, which was very big at the time, 85, 86, and so on. And then they did the financial packaging, in which Zambia State Insurance had some interest. So they were selling as Zambia State Insurance and the Abonde Housing Project. When there were legal issues, of course, involving court cases, I would go in and so on and handle. And then at that point, my instructing client was Mr. Sata. So we became very close. But of course, I knew him from other activities socially. And he was a very interesting and charming man at the time. I was young. We used to call him Mike. We just knew him as Mike, swashbuckling and all, full of life.
Yeah. Yes. Later in life?
Well, later in life, when the process of getting into multipartyism took hold and eventually became multi-party, 1991, and he moved from UNIP as MP for Kabwata and became member of the MMD. I was interested in politics. At that time, I was also working. I was working for. What was I working for? I was working for the CCM at the time. Mm-hmm. So we were interested in the political and economic development of the country. And then I knew of friends. One of them, like I said, there was Donald Chanda, who served Dr. Chiluba. You served with him
as economic advisor to the president.
Yes. He was very close to me when I was working in Zambia State Insurance, the CCM, and all these places. And we used to share a lot of thoughts on the politics and the economics and everything. So when that came, and the MMD was in power, in 1996, there was the first election, multi-party election, after 1991.
Yes.
And that election I was staying in Chawama. And that is where I think I crossed the Rubicon and became a politician.
In 1996?
Yes, because at that time, that's when I stood as an independent. And that
parliamentary candidate?
Yes, for Chawama.
Oh,
and that's the time. And that's the time when Dini Mungomba formed his party. I recall very well, the DECO. I remember very well. Christian Tembo was our member of parliament for Chawama. And the cry of the people of Chawama at the time was, we want somebody who lives here to be our MP, not somebody coming from Makeni. That was the only sore point. And they excited me, agitated me, to some people incited me to join the fray. Yeah. And to vie for adoption as MMD. But of course, Mr. Sata was in charge, and a few other people, they said, no, you cannot supplant Christian Tembo as a senior member of the party.
Yes.
And the best you can do is go in as a mayor. And I refused. I said, no, it's the people of Chawama who want me to save Chawama, not Lusaka as mayor or anything, and so on. He said, go in as councillor, then we'll make sure that we elect you as mayor. I said, no, people want me MP in Chawama.
Yes.
So I broke ranks. I stood for independent in the elections as an independent candidate.
How did you fare?
I fared very well.
Oh, okay.
Very well.
Okay.
We had a good time with MMD, and of course, we were the only force they could contend with. And the records are there at the Electoral Commission of Zambia. Those who don't know, those who doubt can go and check. Yeah. And I begrudgingly got recognition, of course, from Dr. Guy Scott in one of his books when he talked about me in Chawama and so on. And many people got to know about me then. Yeah. But fast forward, when Mr. Sata himself now formed his party.
In 2001.
2001. Of course, he knew who was who in the political zoo. And he settled for me in Chawama. He handpicked me, literally called me. Those days, the mobile phones had just come. So he called me. How he got my number, I'll let you know later. But he got my number, and he called me. He said, Baloya. Said, Epo Muchiri. That was him. Eh? I said, Nisha Tahawe. Mwise Kufama's house, and so on. Yeah. So that's how I joined him. There were very few people around him then. Of course, people claim to have been pioneers. People claim to have invested in the foundation of VF. I know that people like Mumbi, Ambassador Mumbi, was the one who was in Mozambique. He was in UK. Then Paul Lumbi. Yes, was there. I also know a few people who backed the movement in terms of resources, who may not be comfortable in terms of donation. But that's how it was started. And when we were going there, I remember one neighbor saying, but I think me vote. That was 2001. Yeah. Says, me vote.
So, yeah, because he had the history, there was a by-election there, which was quite controversial at the time when it was MMD.
So the story was that I was good political material for Chawama, but I was on the wrong ticket. I joined the man they were not comfortable with. So we lost in 2001. And of course, prior to that, there was the by-elections, which were caused by the Christian Tembos, the General Meanders, and others.
When they were breaking
I also participated. Yes,
I also participated in that by-election.
Yes, in 2000.
Yeah, in 2000.
2000, yes.
Yeah,
I
there was a
participated.
by-election, Kabwata, Chawama.
Yes.
Yeah.
I participated in that one actively.
You also stood as an independent?
No, I didn't stand as an independent, but I put my weight behind Geoffrey Samkonga.
Samkonga.
Because by that time I had crossed to... I had crossed to UPND.
Yeah, you crossed UPND.
In fact, the guy who got me to join UPND was Chagwa Lungu.
Oh, okay.
Chagwa Lungu, my dear friend, is the one who engineered me to join UPND because he was the vice president. And we were working together in the League of Fraternity. We were housed in the same building. The match talked about that building near the DMMU. What do you call it?
Yes, at the Addis Ababa roundabout.
Yeah, that's where we were housed. So but of course, Chagwa also helped me in 1996 campaigning in Chawama.
Okay.
So I introduced him to the hustle and bustle of political life. Yeah. So when he joined the Amazoka, he invited me, and I joined the Amazoka. But in 2001, I left. 2000, I left UPND because they couldn't adopt me.
Yeah.
They opted to adopt a Lozi-speaking gentleman. That was my perception.
Yeah.
And I said, but this party is not for us. I felt he left out. But people were also angry because they said, look, you have a track record in Chawama.
In Chawama, yes.
You did very well in 1996. And we expected them to feature you in UPND.
As their parliamentary candidate.
And you would have easily won it. A sort of frustration. And I'm saying so, convinced that it was frustration. I left UPND. And at that point, Mr. Sata also was courting members and so on. So in 2000, I did not participate in the election. But I campaigned and made sure that Samkonga won. And Samkonga carried all the support.
Our supporters, your supporters.
Yeah, that's what happened. So now, the following year, we had this election, and I was with Mr. Sata. But on a very, very united note and on a very pleasant family note, the man I stood with who supplanted me in the elections of 2000 in Chawama was Mr. Fred Milinga, the owner of Little Woods Primary School.
Yes.
He was our chairman in UPND.
At the time.
Yes. I was just an ordinary member. But surprisingly, I was saying this man has been favored because he's from the Western Province. Because the perception was that UPND was primarily a Tonga party supported by the people from the West. Come to think of it, what I'm trying to say is that this Fred Milinga eventually joined us in PF. And I don't know whether he's still a member, but he joined us. But what is of interest to me is that Mr. Fred Milinga's daughter is my daughter-in-law.
What a small world.
Yeah. So when we look at this and we look at tribe, I said, look at this, look at this, and so on. So we probably of that generation are different people from the generation which we are creating. And I think the generation which we are creating will create a better Zambia, which will overcome this emerging Zambezia concept of Southern, Western, and Northwestern. Yesterday I saw something which distressed me.
Yes, Your Excellency.
The recruitment of 3,000 teachers, is it health workers, from Southern, Western, and Northwestern in the Ministry of Health. And there should be no adverts and so on. We are trying to follow it up, and I think our SKSG and others will follow it up, Your Excellency. But this is what we should avoid, because we are one Zambia, one nation.
We are in 2001, Your Excellency. You are trying to stand as Member of Parliament for Chawama on this new party. Like Mr. Sata would say, you only had 29 days to campaign.
Yeah, we lost miserably. I still have some great nice T-shirt to wear.
It was a new party, clearly. Mr. Sata was highly ambitious, but that didn't deter you or Mr. Sata. We see you that in 2006, the party, you've been working for 10 years in Chawama. And it was expected that you were going to be picked. But at the last minute, we saw Mr. Sata abandon some of you candidates. You in Chawama, they featured instead Mama Sampa Brett, we saw Mumbipiri in Mnali, we saw Mama Faustin Nyangwe in Matero. Did that decision frustrate you? How did you feel that after 10 years working, not only for Chawama, but then about 5 years for PF in Chawama, that Mr. Sata appear to have overlooked you here?
It wasn't being overlooked, as some people would like to believe, because I volunteered the seat to the Reverend Sampa Brett. What happened was that they clustered in Matero, if this is not documented. But in Matero, there was the other lady, Nyangwe.
Yes.
They both wanted Matero. And at that time, we were getting divided in the Central Committee on who to choose for Matero. I remember Sampa Brett turning out to be niece to Mr. Sampa, who at that time had joined us with the other people from PUD.
Yes.
And the PUDD. And then we were also told that this other lady, the Reverend, was actually very powerful in Chawama, in the church, in the UCZ church.
Yes.
And then we also learned that the other lady, Nyangwe, was a niece
to the president.
The President Sata. So it was like President Sata had his niece trying to fight for Matero, and then Chairman Sampa, who was our chairman at the time, that period he was in, was also an uncle to Sampa, who was also fighting for Matero. So it was like the chairman
and the president
had
the
candidates in Matero. So I volunteered. I said, look, there's no need to have these people. And then we had the issue of the one in Kawambwa, Elizabeth Chitika also.
Yes,
so the party had a lot of problems at this point.
Okay.
So to resolve some of them, I volunteered. I said, look, let's get Wamayo, Reverend Sampa Brett to Chawama, because she's UCZ, and UCZ was very strong. And it's still very strong. And I can tell you that it's the one which sustained at the time where Christian Tembo was MP. So we agreed. And when I was told, no, you're not going to stand, I had already known about the dealings in the back room, as it were. You know, in politics,
and you had volunteered.
I know in politics you have to have a kitchen cabinet.
Yes.
I know it's a bad concept, but I can tell you that there are people you talk to before the meeting, even use the non-verbal communication, eye contact in meetings to know whether you're going the right course or not, and see at the meeting well. And you can also be able to know that I have the house with me. So I knew that my offer to step down in Chawama was well received by my bosses. And that very moment we began campaigning for Sampa Brett in Chawama. And I was even her campaign manager. And that's how
she eventually won.
Yeah, and she won very well, convincingly, because the people could see me at the front and so on. For her time had come. Much as she did not invest in it.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's how she became our MP.
Yes.
And the history, of course, is known that she didn't last as a faithful member of the party because she was enticed by the NCC.
Yeah, the NCC was a break for literally for the PF, where up to 19 to 20 MPs decided to defy the party and join
So when that happened, Mr. Sata came out again in the open and said, look, I made the mistake. He apologized to the people of Chawama, apologized to the people of Matero, and said, you are going to be MP in waiting, shadow MP for Chawama. Start working now.
Wow.
For 2011. And he also anointed the late Williamson, so rest in peace, for Matero. And we began working, and that's how we began working our way to the hearts of the people of Chawama. When 2011 came, I was the natural choice. So
and the people had been ready for a long time.
So when you say my political life starts at what point, I don't know where it starts, but politics is...
No, you've enlightened us, Your Excellency, that actually you stood as a candidate, something I've just learned here, in 1996. The PF won elections in 2011 against President Rupia Banda and the MMD, and you won Chawama. But you didn't make cabinet. And there was something, Your Excellency, when the president was announcing his cabinet, he actually announced you as deputy vice president. Do you remember that, and how did you take that?
I remember very well, but it caused quite some stir.
Yes.
And I went to see then the Evans, our Secretary to Cabinet was Evans Chividiti.
Mr. Evans Chividiti.
And he had no answer. He just told me, no, you see, that appointment, just treat yourself as a minister, because we don't have it in here. We don't have deputy vice president and so on. For me, it didn't mean much. But for political pundits and the observers, it meant something. Because for the first time, they were saying we're going to have a president, vice president, and deputy vice president.
Yes.
Yeah, something like that. But the reality of it is what is important to me. Because after that pronouncement, I assumed the seat of minister in the office of the vice president, Dr. Guy Scott. And I received, this is what is important, this is what people should know. I began receiving instructions from State House directly from President Sata. And Dr. Guy Scott was also receiving instructions directly from President Sata. Not even a single day, if I recall, it must be very vaguely, did I receive any instructions from
Mr. Guy Scott.
Mr. Guy Scott. So, to fast track time, when I left the vice president's office, I became
Minister of Home Affairs.
Home Affairs after the demise of Mr. Sakin. Then Mr. Sata appointed 2 colleagues in the office of the vice president. Harry Kalaba was one of them, and another person who were
now deputy
ministers in the office of the vice president. What they used to do is not what I was doing. But what I was doing is not what they got to be doing. So for me, I had a special role to play because I was like personal minister for the president. Even at that deputy vice president, deputy minister level, because he would send me on task. There was a time when I even called him. I said, well, President, I was traveling to Chipata.
Yes.
I said, I'm going to meet some chiefs there. But Nkanduluo doesn't know. She's the minister in charge of traditional affairs and chiefs, and says, you are questioning that. I said, you are a minister. I have given you responsibility. And that minister, Nkanduluo, is minister. She's in charge of the portfolio, but I can, from time to time, assign people to do what I want to do. So, my politics, so then I realized that the president has a special purpose for me. Yeah. And I just went and... So I was just there. But the goodness is I never abused this trust, this confidence, this belief in me by the president to claim that, well, I'll be the president or I'm special or anything. And that is a lesson to those who want to be, or the wannabes. Yeah. Just play your role and people will see whether... First, I can tell you another aspect of my growth in politics is when I was not named as a full cabinet minister. Some colleagues, senior colleagues in the party and outside, including the clergymen, came and said, you worked very hard for this party. You're one of us, a member of the Central Committee, a senior member for that matter. But why are you not in cabinet? Yeah. Can we secure a date? We talk to Mr. Sata so that he gives you a cabinet portfolio. And so on. I said, no, I think I'm comfortable with what I have. And when I became minister after the demise of Mr. Sakin, they were there saying, you see, we told you, patience pays. The same people, the same people, So I just laughed. I said, yeah, this is it. Success has many fathers. Yeah. Failure is an orphan, and people want to be glorified, even for things they don't deserve. Yeah. So I have learned my lessons along the way. And come to think of it, it's been a journey, and here I am.
Yes, Your Excellency. In fact, by 2014, there were factions in the party, one by Honorable GBM and yourself on the other one by Honorable Winter Kavimba. People didn't see you, rising as president, but when Mr. Sata died, you were acting president at the time. And it eventually led that you were going to be adopted as party president. But let's just talk briefly on the issue of when Mr. Sata died. Where were you?
When Mr. Sata died, I was at home. I had just been recalled on a trip to come and take over as acting president. But our friends who were in London with him, of course, were giving us bulletins and reports. And for me, I was at home when news broke. I didn't believe it. I was crushed. The reason why I was crushed is that in my perception of things, I was saying that 2016, Mr. Sata would still be around, and he would escort him back to his second term. 2021, Mr. Sata would have retired as president. At that point, I would have also gone back to my private life. That was me. But we were shattered. We closed our doors. We cried, my family and everyone. Because we were so loyal.
You hoped he would recover during that
all the
illness.
time. All the time, I hoped he would recover. And the worst part is that there was so much secrecy about his illness. And it's a family thing anyway. You cannot insist that I want to know. And even as a family, even when I am president or when I was president, I think the family would determine who gets close, who knows what, and so on. And so when he died, we were all hoping that he wouldn't, but he passed on. And now drama started, of course. And so
It was clear, because at the time, Your Excellency, you were Secretary General of the party. You were Minister of Defense. You were Minister of Justice. You were acting president. Naturally, the Patriotic Front members felt Mr. Sata, although he had not expressly appointed you as his successor, by these actions, like they say, communications is 10% verbal, 90% non-verbal. By these actions, it appeared that he had anointed you as a successor. Did you feel that he was preparing you as a successor?
Well, I didn't think or believe that he was anointing me or preparing me, but I felt that he was just teaching me things about life, and also to appreciate that you can only be what you want to be if God allows it. Because the only time, for example, that I went to State House myself, to Nkwazi, was upon his death. I never, ever went into his residence because my relationship with him was strictly that of master and servant. And I only met him in his office. But you'll be surprised that a lot of my colleagues were going to the residence and meeting him over snacks and so on, and chat. And you know, the reason why I'm saying so is that Madame Kaseba and me grew up in the same township, went to the same primary school.
Oh.
Yeah, she was a grade ahead of me.
Okay.
But I never took that to make her so familiar and so on.
Yes.
That was me. So I would have taken advantage of that to draw myself very near
to the president.
But I didn't want to do that. And she was even admonishing me the other time. She says, next time the man tells you don't stand, ignore him. Just, you should stand in Chawama. I said, no, Mama. So that was me. But when now everything crumbled, he passed on, and I could see there was this struggle and so on. I said, can I take my position? What is my position? And my position was to go with what God had ordained for me, to go with what the masses wanted. And I could hear that my name was coming, so we prayed over it. I said, am I ready for this? And lo and behold, it came to pass. Because people came to pray for me. People came to finance me from without and from within. I said, no, look, we are going. So money is not a problem. When people love you, they will organize resources. They will do everything they can for you. When people believe in you, they will follow you. That is a lesson I learned. I was encouraged. And of course, the journey to the elections in Mulungushi and the developments which came through, and all those people who wanted to stand and everything, I think is documented. But the truth of the matter is that when people recognize and accept you as a leader because you are leading with them, not pulling them along, but you are leading with them. What I'm saying is that you don't impose yourself on people. Lower yourself and people say, sit down here because this is where you belong. And that philosophy is very deeply rooted in me. So even my coming back, which makes somebody sick, it's not me wanting to come back. And I can share with you that now the cry from some sources is that help us transit from 2026 to 2031 so that we remake Zambia. We look at the constitution, all those things the John Sangwas and others were crying for, which UPND ought to have introduced, which PF ought to have introduced, were not done, have not been done. And the only one we can trust now is you because you won't be clamoring for another term in 2031. This is another dimension. Yeah. Now, it's not me who is saying this. It's not me who is saying this, but this is some people, serious people talking to me, says, no, I'm not a 2026, 2031, nimweta pakaife akurudisha mwali approve kale test. So to life at 10 economy. What can we do in the mining sector? What can we do in the agricultural sector? What can we do in the energy sector? What can we do in the tourism sector? Because they've got nothing to fight for. But other can support, they will have the difficulty of being green and learning. They will have the difficulty of trying to assert themselves. So imamu kesa fe mwa ikarafila fine wangu toilette fine the parliament mwa fibomba. So I'm that TN. So it's not me who put myself here in this situation. So
Your Excellency, I can confess that even in 2014, 2015, you were like a reluctant candidate. Many people remember that when there was that tussle about who should be acting president, you easily gave it up.
Of course, I gave it up twice. Yeah. You see, I was reading something about the accidental president. And then this guy comes and tells me, this time we want you to be the incidental president. I said, but who am I? If I'm a vehicle, purpose for that purpose by God and the people of Zambia, I'll be. But if it's not meant to be, it won't be. So I don't know. I'm not like he's saying I want to be president by all means because I want to feel what it feels. I felt it. And I'm not saying I want to be president because I can do better, I'm the best. No. And in fact, I'm giving options. I'm saying, if you are not president, please consult me. I'll help you. This gentleman who is in there now, I won't refer to him because you accuse me of insulting him. I would have helped him if he cared to just ask me on a few things and so on. And I say, how would we do this? Locally and internationally. So I'm still useful. And I could still be useful in the presidency or outside the presidency.
Your Excellency, when the PF, I think, served for 10 years, there's Mr. Sata for 3 years and yourself for 7 years. But before this, Your Excellency, in 2015 when you went to campaigns, I think you made some dramatic statements that you have no vision.
Yes.
But no vision of your own.
Yes, I had no vision of my own.
Why was that important to respect first the programs of Mr. Sata and to honor Mr. Sata's programs? Because any new president would have gotten excited to begin his new program.
You see, with due respect to the history of the nation, when power shifted from UNIP to MMD, there was a vision which was transitional from Dr. Kaunda to MMD, where this vision was respected and given space and supported, we saw fruit. Where this vision was impaired or curtailed, there was chaos. And the same goes for when MMD lost power to PF. I think there was a vision. And when I talk about vision, I include projects, I include the programs, and I include a lot of things. So when I took over, I was not from outside, I was from within PF. And we had a party program, we had a state program on development, manifesto, policy, and the projects. And I think it would be foolish for me to come in that here comes Edgar, I've got my vision, this is what I want to do from now to 2016. It would be like somebody who doesn't know what it takes to provide continuity. The continuity we had required that I subject myself to the vision of the party, the vision which Mr. Sata carried. And even now, it's the vision of Mr. Sata which we carry, which appeals to the Zambian people. You know, one may want to argue to say, no, PF was Michael Sata was PF. Yes, PF was Michael Sata was PF, but because Michael Sata's vision appealed to the people, up to now the name Michael Sata appeals.
Yeah. And
so if you want to continue with where Edgar Lungu left, you should use the Michael Sata attraction and you get a bit of flavor from Lungu and carry forward and see how you can develop the country. You cannot just come and say, look, I'm Ambassador Mwamba. I have come to change your lives. That's why we are here. Somebody came to change our lives 3 years ago, and look at where we are.
Left us in a bigger mess.
Yeah, we are in a bigger mess, and in 6 years of independence, we have lost 57 years. So, you know, so I think that we did very well in terms of infrastructure, because I carried on with the vision of Mr. Sata, which was the vision of the party, which vision appealed to the larger majority of the Zambian people. And I think that we had a manifesto which we formulated for ourselves for 2021, going into the future. So as we go, that manifesto should be reactivated. And if these guys who are there meant well, they would have said, let's look at your manifesto. You know, so I think that it's a shame that Zambians don't think learning from one another is good practice. Zambians want a guy who knows it all, but here we are. Already we are regretting. We are saying, no, it was a mistake. We shouldn't have gone for a Mr. Know-it-all. We should have gone for a team player.
No, clearly you left a good legacy of 10 years. First, the infrastructure development you've talked about. You built roads, bridges, health centers, clinics, hospitals, schools, colleges, universities, airports, dams, power stations. The vision of Mr. Sata.
You've left out toilets. I also did toilets.
You also did some toilets.
Yes.
But the big projects were so big that, you know, you'd let councillors launch the toilets on your behalf. So did you feel betrayed when Zambia voted out the PF, despite this massive work?
No, initially, I felt betrayed. I felt this is a lot of ungrateful people. But when I settled down, I realized that these things have also got the hand of God in them.
Yeah.
You know, where God is, sometimes he wants things to reveal themselves and his might to prevail. Because up to now, many people say, we didn't vote for him. We didn't vote for him. They blame each other. So I can tell you, without mentioning names, that some senior officials in the Electoral Commission of Zambia came to me and said, how did we lose this election? Because we thought we were winning and computing and everything, but suddenly we've lost. I said, I don't know. Up to now, I don't know how we lost. But then there was loss of lives also. Jackson Kungo, may so rest in peace. Our dear brothers who were killed in Kanyama on the same day of voting, apart from those who are being butchered elsewhere and so on, by UPND.
That day, Your Excellency, when the country and the world learned of the death of Mr. Jackson Kungo, your member of Central Committee for Northwestern Province, some called that you should cancel the election. I don't know if it reached you, but what were your feelings?
Yeah, it did reach me. It reached me. A good number of people said, let's cancel the elections. But on reflection, I said we might even end up spilling more blood. Yeah? And I said, let's take it, let's allow it, let's allow the process and so on. There was a strong voice that let's cancel elections. But cancelling elections would have just meant more spilling of blood.
Political tension is too high.
So I just said, no, let's go through the whole process and so on. And went through the whole process. And you'll be interested to know that even when it came to petitioning, we were ready to petition for the outcome of the election. But I reflected, because the tension was still there, and the 14-day window in which petitions are held, I record what happened earlier.
In 2016.
In 2016, I realized it would just explode into some civil war, because some people have not even documented or realized that there was a lot of blood in parts of southern province targeted at people
who do not come
from there. Yeah, and it took 3, 4, 5 days. I had to suppress the news because it was deliberate calculated ethnic cleansing. You speak Bemba, you speak Nyanja, you are the ones who voted for Lungu when they were being silenced and tortured and property burnt and killed. Now, I did appeal at that point to the Chitimukulu, I appealed to Pezeni, I appealed to the Mwata, and I appealed to another chief. I said, please, please, this is happening, but can you tell your people to calm down? And please visit the side and talk to your colleagues so that this can stop. I also did appeal to then Bishop Teresfo Mpundu. I said, talk to Akombwa, Dr. Akombwa, the leader of the SDA Church, to stop this killing, which is on ethnic lines. Otherwise, it will destroy us.
This is in 2021?
No, this was earlier.
Oh, the earlier one?
The earlier one,
2016.
Yes. 2016, yes. So it gave me the experience in 2021 to say,
not to petition the results.
Not to petition the results, because this would result. Because in that 16 days, this is 14 days of petitioning, there would be tension. And people will begin killing each other on those lines. So I said, no. I will not petition. And that's how some people, of course, say, no, you petition. I said, no, let's not petition. Let's just hand over power. And we handed over power. And in handing over the power, I was very sure that I was doing the right thing. And up to now, I still believe I was doing the right thing, because Zambians have seen for themselves who means well for them, who means well for the Zambian people, both in terms of providing good governance, in terms of providing protection, in terms of obedience to rule of law, in terms of checks and balances, and because I keep saying that the law, which is enforced now, and the rules which are in place now, are the same laws and rules which were in place. But should we depend on the fact that I was well brought up? That's why there was law and order. No, it shouldn't be like that. People should just behave properly, and the law should be able to control. And that's why people are saying, let's get back. You get into State House so that we tighten the screws so that this doesn't happen again, where judges are kicked out of employment like domestic workers and so on. So people are clamoring for my return for obviously what we may call selfish reason, in the sense that they want to correct certain mistakes which they can't correct if we get a novice in there again.
You've said something fundamental about the dismissal of the judges, Your Excellency. That hasn't gone very well. The process itself looks murky, and the dismissal of these 3 judges, which has culminated to 7 judicial officers in a period of 3 years. Did you fire any judge at your time, during your time?
Well, I can't recall firing, but efforts were there. I recall some complaints coming through, but through the due process, they never saw fruition. But I can say that it's all because of checks and balances.
Yeah.
And I think that the tenure of security was more during my time than now, because we were reflective. We were also listening to the courts. If the court says, say this, we would say it, and so on. If the court says, look, allow this process to take place so that you fulfill the rule of law, we would follow that. But now what is happening is that everything goes. And the recommendation is a recommendation anyway. Finally, it's you to decide. So I think that the impunity has been escalated by the fact that some laws are loose. They need to be tightened so that from the word go, you can't have what is happening now happen.
Yeah. Where the security of tenure for judges is guaranteed. Your Excellency, last year at this time, you, at the memorial of President Michael Sata's 9th memorial service, you announced your return to politics and your return to active politics. And it came at great sacrifice because you had to give up your pensions and benefits. Why were you motivated to make that fundamental decision?
See, a year ago today, we had the PF rattled. I think a year ago, last Independence Day, 24th to be specific, PF was shaken, and up to now it hasn't recovered because of manipulation And manipulation is, to put it simple, imingalato from the head of state and his ruling party. It's documented. He has gone into PF, caused the dissension, problems for us, and up to now we haven't found our feet properly. And not only in PF, but any other promising political party which he envisaged could give him a good run for his money as the ruling party, he ventured in. Look at Calabar's political party and history. Citizen First is a product of I don't know how many efforts before. Yeah. And I know that even NDC is under attack. Yeah, you know, so that compelled me to come back and say, look, this is not good enough. We need a larger space for the opposition. It's not only that, but the indiscriminate harassment and the arrests of our leaders to weaken them, to scare them, to intimidate them from forming political parties and organizing themselves for the alternative government, forced me to come through. And I came through because PF was dying, being killed, and I was watching. Mm-hmm. I was a product of PF. I became president because of PF. And I was going to look very, very guilty in the eyes of Mr. Sata and all those who sacrificed and sponsored PF. I became president because of PF. And then I should watch PF die whilst I enjoy benefits from HH. No, it was not the right thing to do. So I said, no, this can't be. So I came back to reorganize PF, and I'm still going to make sure that PF survives, because I owe a lot to PF. And I guess you owe Mr. Sata, that legacy that the Patriotic Front must survive. Yes. Yeah, I promised when I took over, I promised at his burial that we will not let his vision die, we will not let Patriotic Front die, and will not let Patriotic Front be sold to the highest bidder. That I said. And if people came with money trying to buy leadership and the party along the way, and it failed, and it will fail even this time.
There are feelings of, I don't know if it's despondency, in remembering Mr. Sata this time, because there are issues of the venue, issues of organization that are currently being discussed. Of course, Your Excellency, I will not delve you into there. But how should we remember Mr. Sata? Yeah, Mr. Sata will always be remembered by the Zambian people for one thing. He was a brave man. Two, he was sincere in his cause. His cause was for the poor Zambian to lead a decent life, to uplift the living standards of our people wherever they may be. And he was not tribal at all. He was not tribal at all. He was a unifier. He believed in one Zambia, one nation. So for me, I think that Mr. Sata can only be remembered and respected by those who believe in these values, these virtues, and so on. And that's why I'm saddened by the developments, but we'll get to know as we go how he'll be remembered for the day of tomorrow, which is the 10th one. The 10th is a special one. It's a decade, 10 years is a decade. But that is not the end, because there will be more beyond tomorrow. And for me, I can safely tell you that I will not allow people who persecuted Mr. Sata in his death to take advantage of tomorrow and put his memory to rest forever. No. We cannot allow that. That we cannot allow. Mr. Sata stood for certain things which have been fought in the last 3 years by people trying to disseminate, to kill PF. And the same people should be presiding over his 10th memorial. The same people should be putting his ghost to rest forever, and we are watching. We can't accept that. That's why people are saying, what's going on in Zambia? What's going on? Because I don't want to say people were happy and excited when Mr. Sata passed on, because that's a fact. You can check it out for yourself. I don't want to say from day one, after Mr. Sata died, people began trying to destroy his memory,
by destroying PF.
Just to put it very in clear context, you are saying when Mr. Sata died, some people celebrated.
Yes.
They even began to campaign immediately.
Yes. Yes.
They saw it as an opportunity to get to office.
Yes. So that is a fact. And now, the same people went further when they got power in 2021 to destroy his party. And tomorrow they want to attend the memorial to make sure that even his party dies with him forever. We can't allow that. So for me, I'm waiting between now and tomorrow morning to see what happens. How can you allow somebody who has murdered your son or your daughter and you are still mourning to come and attend the funeral and be made to speak at the funeral?
But how good your son
was. And you know about it, you say, wait a minute, what's happening? And I think I can just say the whole thing, I summed it up when I spoke to one guy. I said, because how can you, Ambassador, a Catholic, be remembered in a Jehovah's Witness hall? Yeah. In the 10th anniversary, or how do you get
to be dishonored?
How do you get remembered in a SDA church when everyone knows that you are Catholic and so on? And the state insists. And the worst part is that I have learned that the Secretary to Cabinet is Catholic.
Yes, he is.
And so he is the Deputy Oliver Karabo. They're Catholic, and they should have told government to say, look, how these things are done. Especially Patrick Chagwa, who is a practicing Catholic church member, and I've seen him in church even giving mass, Holy Communion and so on. He should have said, wait a minute, we want to participate in this program. That's good. So let us engage the church to which the late President Sata belonged, and then we participate in there. Yeah. Any insistence that we hold it in a mosque or in any other church building would have been frowned upon. To say, no, sir, Mr. President, we can't do that. Because now I'm getting feedback, say, I don't know much about these things. Someone says, no, there's Satanism and so on. So, but the truth of the matter is that and I probably it's a handle office of the president. In decency, sir. In the name of decency, let's not do it this way. Let's do it this way. What I thought they would do is to go to the Catholic Church where the man is. Cathedral of the Holy Cross would be a bonus, but he used to attend St. Ignatius. Go to St. Ignatius, and then if the parish priest said, no, it's too small a place for the 10th one because the more I saw the state is here, it means we are too many. Let's seek the Vicar General or the Archbishop to assist us with the bigger space, which is
the Cathedral of
the Holy Child Jesus. Yes, that's how you go about these things. That's decency. That's when you begin now expunging the perception that and so on, which is not making sense. Yeah?
The allegation that the Cathedral of the Holy Cross always handles national events.
Oh. No.
But the wishes, I think, of the family, the wishes of stakeholders like the Patriotic Front, where Mr. Sata died as president, become key.
Yeah.
Are you aware if you were consulted in any way?
No. Me, I can't be consulted. I just hear my name being floated here. No, Lungu is at the stadium. He has been invited. No. I've not even received a phone call. Not even an intimation that I'm in attendance tomorrow. But what I've seen on social media is Jack Mwimbo is saying I should get permission to attend tomorrow's event. I don't know in which office, I don't know whom I should see, and so on. So if it's not on social media, I don't get to know of it. But I have not received anything about the preps. But I think the SG has been working with the family and the state to ensure that there is harmony and respect on this occasion. And I think we'll go by what will happen.
Thank you, Richard. My last but question. There's been a call that you should reconcile, or there should be some dialogue between the current president, Your Excellency.
I have information right now.
Yes, sir.
That they want to raid my son's farm tomorrow to distract the happenings. And I learned this on Friday. And they're saying my son is on the run. I rang him. Daddy, so where are you? I said, I'm at home. You're on the run? He says, no. My passport is with the state. Yeah. Now, you see, these are people who like putting red herrings at every spot, every opportunity to create a situation and so on, a perception and so on. So there is no desire by anyone in office currently to reconcile with me. They'd rather eliminate me from the ballot and, if possible, put a bullet in my head. Because I've heard stories. I've heard stories. And these stories cannot just be stories from without, because the people who are giving us stories are from within, you know. So the fight that I shouldn't be on the ballot has been appreciated. The fight that probably I'll get a bullet is being investigated. But all the same, I can say God Almighty knows what I deserve for being a Zambian who wants to serve. I was in retirement alone there. They came and woke me up, harassed me to a point where I had to stand up and defend myself. I'm still defending myself. And I have to defend my family. Yes, I'm not saying that I should not defend my family and it's wrong for me to defend them. I'm defending my family, but my biggest family, the family of the Zambian people who are suffering, whom we promised a lot of things which we haven't done, and whom we persecute for insisting that, please, give us what you promised us. Where is the 50 kwacha bag of millimil? In Mansa, what is happening, you saw. You have seen that there is a serious shortage of fuel. And if that continues, where are we headed to? And what I'm seeing, for example, in Mansa, what I saw in Mansa elsewhere, would have been chaos. But luckily, Zambians are very humble people, law-abiding and so on. But for how long? For how long? So for me, I learned also yesterday that they want to arrest me for saying liars are being exposed. Yeah, but you see, how do you reconcile like that? eh? And you know,
they've not fostered an environment for dialogue or reconciliation.
No. Meanwhile, you're busy killing PF, which is my political party. You're busy appointing vice presidents and presidents and so on. What they're doing is what was frowned upon. I went to Kafue. Thomas, is it Njovu?
Ziambo.
No, the other Thomas, the mayor. Who's the mayor?
Oh, yes, Thomas Zulu, Your Excellency.
Yeah, Zulu came as mayor to just witness the event. And he was fired. He was UPND council chairperson. He was fired. That's exactly what they were doing. I went to Chawama. The mayor then, I was commissioning cadets in the correctional services. Yeah. He came as mayor. He was fired.
And there was a by-election.
Now, they're doing the same thing. And I'm watching. They're busy killing PF, and I should be watching and smiling and so on. And then we should sit and reconcile by handshakes and cups of coffee. No, that's not what you do. You know, you come clean. I have come. We want to make peace. This is what's going to happen. I go to Tingola. I cannot even drive to the funeral. I'm pelted with stones. Police are watching and so on. And they lie that, I was going to Lubengele. And you want to reconcile, come clean. He who comes to equity must come with clean hands. Yeah?
Yes, we saw a statement by government, Your Excellency, alleging that they stopped you from going to Chiwempala and Chilawombwe, as if they have powers to stop you. But is that even legal?
No, it's not legal. And I wasn't even going to Chiwempala. It's sad that I cannot respond to all these statements because I think I will be elevating them to my level or reducing myself to their level, which is not good. But they don't get anywhere near me. How can you lie that I was going to Chiwempala when I was going to the cemetery? And we had agreed that we were going quietly for the funeral. After the funeral, we come back quietly. And if they were interested in where I was going, they should have followed me from Lusaka to Tisamba to Kapiri to Ndola to Kabwe, wherever I was going. They never followed me. So they are just looking for excuses, and people are looking at them and wondering that what's wrong with these people? Because at every turn, and there is one gentleman who is a PS, I feel very sorry for him, that when the time comes, he'll be very miserable. Because the lies that he has volunteered for the pack of liars in there is phenomenon and historical. Goebbels, of course, had his own pack. The Arab one was what? Comical Ali.
Comical Ali.
Yeah, we always have them. But I don't know what name we'll give that one. He's a shame. He's a shame. But we'll leave him to his level.
Yes, Your Excellency.
discuss
No,
it.
leave him to us. Your Excellency, I would like to thank you, but what would be your last words, especially of encouragement to first members of the Patriotic Front during these very difficult times, and then to the people of Zambia who I think facing some of the worst circumstances our country has ever faced since 1964?
My message to the Patriotic Front members is that let us remain united, let us remain focused, let us be our brother's keeper, and let us emulate Mr. Sata's big heart of forgiveness. Mr. Sata used to forgive a lot of people. His history is not complete if you don't mention the fact that he was able to accommodate everyone, including those who were so angry, so bitter. Some of them insulted him, some of them physically assaulted him, but he forgave them. And that's how he built the special purpose vehicle called PF, which has saved the Zambian well and which people want to continue. So if we're going to continue, let's use Mr. Sata as a role model. Let's talk to each other. Let's unite. And most importantly, the special purpose vehicle called PF is people's hope. The majority of the Zambian people think that if PF came in again, it has learned its lessons, it has the experience, and it has the heart to see them into the next better situation they are aspiring for. So tomorrow, let us wait for guidance from the SG on how we proceed, because I understand talks are still going on between the family with regards on whether we're going to have an alternative memorial church service or not. But personally, I want to appeal to everybody that let's be calm, because we have already lost 4 years now. This is the 4th year of the UPND government, mind you. And very soon we'll be voting in 2026. And Zambians will not hesitate to show them the exit.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Your Excellency. I'd like to thank you for sparing time and for gracing the Conversation podcast. God bless you, Your Excellency.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Thank you. To our dear viewers who were hosting the Zambia's 6th president to commemorate. Thank you very much. I conducted that interview on 27th October 2024. It was a day before the commemoration of the 10th anniversary for President Michael Sata's, passing. And we used the opportunity for President Edgar Lungu to reflect on the life of President Michael Sata, but also to give us details of his own life. I think the facts that you must have heard are quite rare. You don't find them everywhere. And this interview was a gem in itself. I think during this period, we'll see how we can return it. Today, we woke up to the sad news that Zambia had lost its statesman, the only surviving former president, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, died at a hospital in South Africa. The announcement was made by Honorable Tasila Lungu Mwansa. Here is the announcement before we break off, and let me come and say my last few words after this.
Fellow Zambians, it is with profound sorrow that we announce the passing of His Excellency, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, 6th President of the Republic of Zambia, who departed this morning at 06 hours at Medifarm Clinic, a center in South Africa. My father, President Lungu, had been under medical supervision in recent weeks. His condition was managed with dignity and privacy, with support from all well-wishers. In this moment of grief, we invoke the spirit of one Zambia, one nation. The timeless creed that guided President Lungu's service to our country. In time, the nation will be involved to be informed of other arrangements. Thank you. God bless you.
Ngale mbafwaye mu Zambia. Ngale mbafwaye mu Lusaka. Ngale mbafwaye. Mwe menso ya kulu. Mfuaileniko. Ni nani waluba? Mfuaileniko mwe bantu. Ni tata Edgar Lungu waluba. Mfuaileniko mwe bantu. Tata wa Shabana mukasuba kakululula. Mfuaileniko. Tata Shitasila. Tata Janet. Mfuaileniko. Tata Shidaliso. Mfuaileniko. Tata Mkaba Esther. Mfuaileniko. Tata wa Mutembo. Tata Ichichena Chafina. Mwelesa tutuleni. Mwelesa tuafueni. Mwebantu. Ngafueniko. Insha ishiba ichimbo cha malilo. Nsaba ntafye. Pokeleleni mwebe kalachalo napelelwa. Good night and God bless you.